Bismillah wa salatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. All praise and all thanks to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So because time is short, so we're going to be very brief and but concise inshallah. Uh, Focus on the usul principles and not details. So inshallah, when we understand the usul and principles, we will be able to understand details on in our own, because the principles are they are essentials. So today inshallah we will be talking about, as a person, we live in this world, but after that, there's another life called life of barzakh. Life of barzakh, it is important as well. Why? Because if a person leaves this world and leaves behind a sin which is followed by the people, that person is still going to be considered as a sinner in life of barzakh as well. Meaning that his bad deeds, the people are following the person's bad deed. Likewise, vice versa, if a person has done something good, sadqa jariyah, or something good, and others are benefiting, the person is going to benefit in life of barzakh. We don't know when qiyamah will come. It can be 200 years, it can be 50 years, it can be 300 years. We don't know when. We want to make sure that we are still benefiting in our qabr. And we want to make sure that we are not getting any of the sins that we leave behind in our qabr and in life of barzakh. So likewise, when we leave this world, it is important that before leaving this world, we leave in a proper manner. No one knows when death can occur. Death can come anytime, any moment. That is why Rasulullah ﷺ says that prepare for death before death comes to you. So every moment we should be preparing ourselves. So one of the important matter, it is the matter of inheritance, wasiyyah, bequest or will, or hiba, gift. All these things are different from each other. But in society, everyone considers this as same. But in reality, all three of them have different definitions, different usul, different principles. When these three things are there, then it becomes easy to do the distribution, which is mirath, which is inheritance. As for wasiyah, Rasulullah ﷺ says that in the Hajjatul Wada, he has mentioned, and in generally, that the person should not spend a night without writing a wasiyah. Why? Because we know that the wealth, it is the greatest fitna test for this ummah. That what happens after a person passes away? Maybe for 3-4 days people are crying, but after 1 week there's a talk that how we should distribute the person's wealth. Now sometimes there's a lot of fights. Sometimes the son does not give the inheritance to the daughter, and this is practiced in the society where the woman doesn't get anything from mirath, from inheritance. So Islam has prescribed everything from the beginning till the end, that how wealth should be distributed. But it is better that before leaving this world, you make sure that how you want to distribute the wealth. One is mirath, which is inheritance that is already told to us by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who is going to get what. We cannot change this at all. Just like how 2 plus 2 is 4, we cannot change it. Likewise, how much the person will get, how much the son will get, how much the daughter will get, how much the wife or vice versa will get, it is already mentioned to us by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and this is what we cannot change. Now there are some things which a person can do before leaving this world. So there are three things. One is inheritance. Second, wasiyat, which is will. And third is hiba, which is gift. So inheritance, as we said, that it is already stipulated by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and we cannot change it at all. There's no difference of opinion among the scholars, because everything is just mentioned, that who is going to get what, how much, who's going to get. That is mirath. In Arabic, mirath. In Urdu also, it is called mirath. Okay. Second is wasiyat, and third is hiba. Now, many times people think this is one, but in reality, this is different. Hiba is something that is given to someone with the possession, with the milkiyat. Now, people say, and they make this mistake. They say that if when I leave this world, give this thing to this person. This is not hiba. This is not even wasiyyah. Rather, it is nothing. If someone wants to do hiba, for example, hiba, the difference between wasiyyah and hiba is that hiba can be given to the inheritors. Those who are getting the inheritance, hiba can be given to them. However, wasiyyah cannot be given to the inheritors. Because Rasulullah ﷺ said in Hajjatul Wada, La wasiyyata liwarith, that there is no wasiyyah for the person who's already inheriting. So a father cannot make wasiyyah for his child. A husband cannot make wasiyyah for his wife. Why? Because she is already going to inherit. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows who is going to pass away first, but because they are already inheriting, so wasiyyah cannot be made for the inheritors. However, hiba can be made. Now, the difference between hiba and wasiyyah is that wasiyyah will only happen to the non-inheritors after death, whereas hiba can happen to the inheritors during lifetime. So, wasiyyah, non-hires. It's given to the non-hires. It cannot be given to the hires. Whereas hiba can be given to both hires and non-hires. Now, with wasiyyah, it is after death. Whereas hiba can be during the lifetime. Now, for example, to give example, let's say you have two children who are baligh. Now you love them, mashallah, you want to distribute the wealth. Now you need to also make sure that you have other inheritors too. It could be possible that your parents are still living, your wife is there, and you want to make sure they are getting something too. But you want to make sure that when you leave this world, your sons are taking care of the family, entire family, not just the mother, but also the grandfathers as well. So you want to give them a little bit more. So what you do, that let's say you have savings, let's say 60,000, right? Now you want to give hiba, meaning you want to give them 5,000. You can do that. However, when you do that, in hiba, the most important thing is milkiyat. Milkiyah meaning possession. P-O-S-S? Okay. Possession is necessary. One cannot say, okay, I give you this, after I leave this world, you take it. No. In hiba, the possession needs to be given. So if you want to give it to your children or anyone, your friend or your father, whoever, you need to give 5,000 to them, telling them this is yours, this is hiba for you. Now when it is in their possession, now this is hiba. Okay? But wasiyyah cannot be given to the inheritors, as we talked about hires. Wasiyyah is given to the non-hires. So for example, someone is very close to you, your neighbor, someone who's very dear to you, and you want to make sure that the person is also going through some financial problem, he's not financially stable. You want to help out and say that, okay, when I leave this world, you can have this amount of money. Now in wasiyyah, another important thing is that it can only be maximum 1/3 of the estate, tarka. So for example, if a person leaves behind $100,000, he cannot make wasiyyah that, okay, I give you $60,000 after I leave this world, you can take $60,000. Why? Because Rasulullah ﷺ said only maximum 1/3 can be given as wasiyyah. After that, it needs to be given to the in mirath, in inheritance. If someone makes wasiyyah that more than 1/3 can be given to someone or give it to this charity organization, his wasiyyah is not valid. It should not be followed by the inheritors. So the inheritor should also know that if someone has made wasiyyah over 1/3, his wasiyyah is not accepted and they should not follow. So for example, $100,000 the person left behind, and the person made wasiyyah giving to the person $60,000. The inheritors will not follow that. Rather, they will only give him maximum of 1/3. Okay, so far so clear. We understand the difference. Okay.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
So in our countries, usually Pakistan, we say, okay, I'm writing my wasiyyah, and usually they write wasiyyah for the heirs, the legal heirs. Is it right or is it wrong?
There is no point, because if they're writing for inheritors, they're already going to get that. Maybe they want to make sure someone doesn't do qabza. Maybe in non-Islamic country it makes sense, because it is possible that the government takes some money without the family knowing. It could be possible that the person was involved in some situation where his money is being taken out. There could be some situation, and probably the person said that after I leave this world, my money can be given here and there. So that's why this is where the ulama body comes in. Like for example, in New Zealand is fayans, right? So one can write wasiyyah that I am a Muslim and my wasiyyah is that my inheritance should be given to the Muslims based on Islamic manner, Islamic way. So this type of wasiyyah is like telling them. But distributing wealth with wasiyyah, it has to be these usul. You understand?
I might have other questions.
Yeah. So what my question is that in our countries, usually the father who is about to die or whoever, he does not distribute according to what the distribution is mentioned in the Quran, and they call it that this is my wasiyyah.
Yeah. So this is wrong.
This is wrong.
Of
So
course.
it should be invalid.
It's invalid.
Yeah, even
But
though
even the person made this type of wasiyyah,
yeah,
it is invalid.
like for example, if the wasiyyah Quran says that 1/3 should be given to the daughter and 2/3 should be given to the son, but his love for his child, his daughter, is more. So he said, okay, give 50-50. So 50-50 will not be accepted according to
Will not be
Islam.
accepted unless he gives 50-50 during his life, hiba with milkiyat.
Okay, but
Then that will be okay.
okay.
If the milkiyat is given, okay, you take 50, you take 50, that's yours. Now you guys are up to you. But if he says, after I leave, you take 50, you take 50, is not going to happen. Why? Because the usul is wasiyat is not given to the inheritors. And even to the non-hires, it cannot be given more than 1/3. Otherwise, this is injustice, right? Now, with hiba, with regards, sorry.
Okay, so another confusion is around that the terminology associated with it. So back home, that document that we made up, usually that is called wasiyyah.
Wasiyat.
And in here we refer that to as will. But the usul that you are explaining, so that should be the ones that could be part of that particular document.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is why I chose this topic today, making sure, because I would say 90% of the Muslim Ummah does not know this. And that's why they make wrong wasiyah. Because when we were studying in Darul Ifta, so much problems. When someone dies, the whole family comes now, the whole khandan comes now, and there's so much problem because it cannot be distributed based on what the person has decided before leaving this world. Now there's disputes, there's fights. They want to make sure that they get it based on what he said, not based on what the Sharia is saying, right? So that's why 90% of the ummah does not know these usul. That is why it's very, very important to know these usul. So when they, sorry, 1 second, I'll get back to you. So when they write wasiyah, they said this person should be getting this should be getting this, is already decided by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So there's no reason for writing that. However, if someone is non-inheritor, and maybe a neighbor or some close friend, and he wants to make wasiyah that after my death, give this person this much amount, it should be maximum of 1/3. It cannot be over 1/3. Hiba, milkiyat is shart. Yes.
Yeah, does this hiba needs to be in a written form or it can be in verbal as well?
Hiba, milkiyat is shart. So milkiyat means physically you need to give.
Oh, so you have to. So you must be alive and you give it. Make sure that you give that hiba
Yeah.
before you die.
Yeah.
So
So for example, if it's like a land, right? Now physically one cannot take it, right? So in that land, the paper and documentation, everything should be done and signed and everything. So that will be considered as milkiyat. So now who gave that does not have right to take it back because the possession has been given to the other person. It's gift now. Understand?
So yeah.
So while alive, can someone give hiba, like completely his possessions, everything hiba as per his?
It will be highly disliked. It will be considered as a sin, even though it can be given, but it's going to be considered as distributing invalidly because the justice needs to be made among the inheritance. So if someone does it, it's valid, but it's valid with sin.
But even then, the 1/3 condition is not there with hiba.
Is not there because hiba milkiyat is already given. So hiba, remember, milkiyat is very, very important. If someone just says, okay, I'm giving you this, I'm giving you this, it's not sufficient. Milkiyat needs to be given.
So couple of questions. Like there's so many questions because this is very interesting.
This is very basic
Very,
usul. I'm
very
telling.
interesting. And I think like I have seen so many mistakes. Like I've seen in my family as well. You know, so I mean, when they say wasiyat, they just do. It's hardly I've seen that do 1/3 here, 1/3 here, and 1/3 here. They distribute everything, just write it down, and this is a wasiyat. I don't know how if they write a hiba or whatsoever, but hiba can't be done after death.
Yeah.
So I was just in my mind there was Surah Kahf story going on when there was like some gold or possession and he asked Musa alayhi salam to build the wall so that the kids will grow up and they'll get the share. So was that his wasiyyah or what was that? You know, that was the total thing. You know, going to the kids.
Actually, the ahkam of this ummah is different compared to the previous ummah. Yeah. So some things were halal in that ummah, whereas it is made haram for this. Some things are halal for this ummah. So that was different ahkam, different usul at that time.
And if somebody is going on Hajj, just an example. So it is recommended when you're going on Hajj to write your wasiyyah. And I've read the ahadith that Hazur Sallam prefers that every Muslim should not sleep more than 3 nights, you know, more than 2 nights without writing a wasiyyah or without writing his will. So when somebody is going on Hajj, like for example, if that person has got like 3 small kids, they're all not adults, you know, and before going on Hajj, they write down that okay, when they grow up, if we die, if they're leaving behind their kids, if we die, when they grow up, all the wealth should go to these 3 kids. Is this right or wrong?
No, it's not right. Because the milkiyat is not there. Unless they make the non-baligh kids guardian. So a guardian would be maybe eldest sister or elder brother, or the wife is a guardian in this matter, or like grandfather, they're the guardians. Who knows whoever passes first. By giving, again, hiba, the milkiyat needs to be given to the guardian then. If they want to distribute it during this time, they're saying that if I leave this world, they're saying it based on wasiyat, but wasiyat is not going to happen because wasiyat cannot be given to the heirs. So when he's saying, if I die in Hajj or whenever, wherever I'm traveling, and give this to my kids, is not valid because the wasiyat is not given to the heirs. So it's not going to be valid. Yeah. So unless he gives hiba to them and documentation and everything is there written down with 2 witnesses and everything, then that will be milkiyat to the kids. Then the father does not have the right to take it back from the kids. Same thing with the mas'ala of zakat. Sometimes the father and the mother, they buy jewelry with the name and documentation for their daughter, right? Now they're not allowed, if they have given fully milkiyat to the daughter, even she is not baligh, now they cannot take it back. Because if they're taking it back, they have to take out zakat for that jewelry as well. But if they have given her fully complete milkiyat, then there is no zakat on the parents, despite they bought the, right? So milkiyat is very, very important, right? So the Hajj mas'ala, in this situation, the father is making wasiyat for the inheritors, which is invalid. Okay?
So what should he do? I mean, in Hajj case, if the kids are small.
If the kids are small, then there should be other guardians, and then they will have to go to Darul Iftar Islamic organization, where they will make the whole chart who gets how much. So that's inheritance, that's mirath, that's completely different department with mathematics and calculation and everything, who gets how much. With kids, there could be other people that are inheriting as well. Right? Any other confusing or?
Loads of confusion.
Go ahead.
So if somebody doesn't have anything extra or 1/3 to do wasiyyah on, right? So do we still need to prepare a wasiyyah, or inheritance laws are already there?
Inheritance laws are already there.
So that hadith.
But in non-Islamic country, because even at that time Islam was growing, right? It wasn't like established fully. It was established fully, but it was still growing. Like in other areas like Kufa and Egypt, it was still growing, right? So that's what Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam made sure, that if you are living in non-Islamic country, non-believers, so you should write wasiyat, making sure, telling whoever is in the higher position, it could be the non-believers, right? Making sure that they are told that your wasiyah, meaning your inheritance, should be distributed based on Islamic method. You understand? So like, for example, like this is a non-Islamic country, right? So the wasiyah, you should write it, a will, but that will is not considered as this type of will. It's just a will based on, from their perspective, because their perspective will is whatever the person has said to do after my death, that is considered as will. Now this government will not care that even if it's based on Islamic method or is not based on Islamic method, whatever the person has said after my death, do this, do that, they are going to consider as will. But Islamically, will can only happen if the usul are there.
So
right?
if people are living in Islamic countries and they don't have any 1/3 or anything extra to wasiyyah on, then
that's
they
it.
don't have to prepare a wasiyyah.
They don't have to prepare.
Jazakallah.
Yeah, then they don't have to prepare.
It's already set up because we know that inheritance will go.
Yeah, inheritance there. However, because a lot of times, not few times, a lot of times the confusion comes. The person who is dying says that after I leave, give this to this, give this to that, give this to that. Sometimes it doesn't make sense. It's invalid based on what the person has said. Sometimes the person might say, okay, give this, but he hasn't given possession and the person has passed away. So the hiba is not done. Right? Yeah.
Right. Another thing that we have observed, that at least in my family, I've seen talking so many elderlies that saying that when I'm gonna die, bury me someplace over there. Let's say if they're living in city, they would ask that bury me in the village. And sometimes when they die, it gets so much difficult for the affectees because of the weather, sometimes because of the financial situations, and sometimes they're not able to do that. Then rest of the family would curse them back that you have not listened and completed to the wasiyyah, taken as wasiyyah, that burying over there, that's not being done. Sometimes they cut off ties, sometimes they don't talk to them, and again, I mean,
yeah, many situations.
Yeah.
So first and foremost is that we need to understand that Islam says wherever the person passed away should be buried there. So that's number one. If a person has passed in Wellington, it's highly recommended that the person should be buried in Wellington. The body shouldn't be taken out in another country. That's highly recommended, especially when the Muslims are around. Yes, if there's few numbers of Muslim, only 5 Muslims in the area, then of course it's better, to go in that area where the Muslim community is. But if the person, for example, passed away in the greater Wellington area, it is highly recommended to bury in the same area. And it's even makruh, disliked, for the body to be transferred in another area. So if the person has made this will, it is going to be valid because it's not haram, but it is disliked. It is highly disliked, actually, makruh tahrimi, to transfer a body from one place to another place. And with the janaza as well, if someone passes away, it needs to be done right away, making sure the effort is made to do it either the same day or the next day.
Right. I also inferred this from that, if I recall correctly, the grave of Hazrat Amina alayhi salam, the mother of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, is not in Jannat al-Baqi, right?
No. It's in somewhere out of
Where she died, right?
where she passed away, and that's why it's out of the land and area where she passed away. They just buried her there.
Should follow.
Now another thing comes now. Inshallah, we're going to wrap it in 10 minutes. Inshallah. Now, person who was in old age or he has permanent illness and couldn't pray salah. So now a person who has a permanent illness, couldn't pray salah and passed away. Now fidya needs to be given. Fidya is same thing as sadqa fitra. Now the person has made will. In this way, the person had made wasiyyah that because I couldn't pray due to my illness, I couldn't pray, I was very weak or whatever, give my fidya for the number of days I have missed salah, right? So for example, the person was sick for 3 months, extreme sick, couldn't pray, but he made will, he made wasiyyah that if I die in this sickness and I can't do qada of the salah I have missed, I'm making this wasiyyah to give fidya on my behalf of each salah. So each salah will be, in today's time, will be $15 New Zealand dollars. So now the question is, what is the solution here? So in this way, only fidya can be given maximum of 1/3. It cannot be given more than 1/3. So if a person leaves behind $100,000 and says that give my fidya because I couldn't pray, only 1/3 will be followed, but not the whole estate. So right, it could be that person didn't pray for 10 years. Now $100,000 will almost finish and it cannot be distributed among the inheritance, right? So only 1/3 of it will be followed. Okay, is that clear? So fidya, if someone made will. If someone didn't made will, that didn't say anything, didn't care, then there is no wasiyyah. But if someone made will, and this usually happens, right? If usually when the person is passing away, realizes, okay, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I need to return, right? Even the sinners at that point, they started making wasiyyah like these, give this on my behalf, right? So fidya per salah is $15 in today's time, and maximum of fidya can be given on person estate is 1/3. Okay, is that clear? Okay, good job. Any other question before we move on to janazah? There's so much to talk about actually, but the time is short.
So, you said like if there's no wasiyahs there, then
if there's no wasiyah there, then what happens? Inheritance. So after a person left this world, now the distribution happens like this. First, this is how it's going to distribute. Person died, okay? Now right away, janazah, kafan, dafan needs to be taken place. Now, for example, the person left behind $100,000. The minimum burial expenses, one cannot just buy $10,000 coffin, right? The minimum, whatever it can be bought with $1,000, take that one. And with burial expenses, minimum, that's going to be taken out the person's savings. So that's number one. So it counts as kafan, transportation to the cemetery, qabr. All these are considered as burial expenses. So in today's time, I think it's compared like 7,000-8,000 at least, right? In New Zealand. In Canada is like this, but I'm sure in New Zealand is like this too. Everything considered like $8,000 to $9,000. 10 is, let's say $10,000, right? So that will be taken out first from the person's saving. Okay. Next is that if person made wasiyyah if, then wasiyyah needs to be followed. And the wasiyyah, based on the usul that we talked about, maximum of 1/3 will be given in $1,000. Third is that if the person has qarza, if he has any qarda that needs to be given, only short-term debt, is considered as loan. So if person has, for example, a mortgage which is sin for 30 years, only 1 year debt is going to be taken out from the saving, but rest of the 29 years is going to be considered as saving. Okay, so that's why as a Muslim we need to understand that before we take loan from someone, it is best to don't take long-term debt. With the students as well, right? If you need to take loan, make sure it is short-term loan that you're able to pay back. Okay. Qarda, if someone has qarda, right? Qarda is very important matter. I took loan from you, let's say I took a loan for you from you $2,000, and I said within 1 year I will pay you back within 1 year. So 1 year is the limit. So that is going to be taken out from the mirath and will be given to that person. Okay, but if it's a long term like mortgage 30 years, then this is not followed. Okay, so that's not considered as like a proper qarza. Qarza which is short term, like within 1 year, that's going to be taken out before mirath is being distributed. Okay, so when person died with $100,000, burial expenses is taken out $10,000. If there was wasiyyah was made, maximum of 1/3 will be taken out. And then if the person has some loan that needs to be given in short-term loan, which is Islamically it's less than one year, then that needs to be taken out from $100,000. Now, whatever the remaining is after that, let's say 50,000 is remain, that is going to be inheritance. That's going to be divided among the waratha.
There is a limit for 1/3, so that makes sense that person should not make something like that, that inheritors shouldn't get anything. With the qarada, if let's say everything is paid out and there is no limit for that, so I mean, what if all is paid as qarada and there is nothing left for inheritors in that case?
In that case, then the inheritance won't get anything.
Right.
So qarda will take preference.
Qarda will take preference. This is the usul. First, burial expenses. If everything finishes burial expenses, then it's finished. What can you do, right? The inheritance won't get anything. Now, if after giving wasiyyah, after this and wasiyyah is given, nothing is left, then nothing is left, right? And after giving qarda, this is the pattern. If qarda is given, then nothing is left, then nothing is left. There can't be anything distributed.
Janaza kal karna.
Janaza kal karna.
After 6:30 already.
Yeah, for sure.
No, we can continue wasiyyah because it was wasiyyah plus janaza.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's time to.
Tomorrow. It always happens like this. When we started with tahara and salah, we couldn't finish tahara. So,
Inshallah, we'll talk tomorrow. Inshallah.
no, we can continue this one.
Yeah.
Wasiyyah.
If some of you might have to go, we're almost done. I mean, we just talked about fidya. Now, with regards to Hajj, especially for the woman, for example, they were physically capable of going for Hajj, and they were financially capable of going for Hajj, but they couldn't go for Hajj because they did not have mahram, right? Because for women, mahram is shart, mahram is condition for her fard, Hajj to become fard. Yes.
Like if someone gets the loan and they took $1,000 from you and they spent it from 30 years, and the person who give $1,000 to you save more money, is it still valid?
No, it's not. If someone gives you loan or you gave someone loan or someone gives, the loan needs to be given back to the owner. It's better that if you have bought something from someone, it's better that right away when you are capable, you give it back. Okay, understand? So as soon as possible. So loan in that way is not good to take, but if you really need loan, then you take it. But as soon as you are able to give back, then you give it back. Okay.
Yeah, it might not fall into these categories, but some people donate organs when they pass away. So, is that
Donating
permissible?
organs is completely haram. If a person even makes this will, the family has the right to tell the government that because we're Muslims in Islam, it is completely prohibited to even donate one nail. So yeah. So donating any organ is haram, despite if the will, based on the government perspective. Because I know in health card in Canada that when we make, they ask that if you die, do you want to donate your organs? So that's completely haram.
Let's say I'm in an Islamic country, haven't made any wasiya, any announced any hiba. Now, who is going to establish
The mirath?
the inheritance?
Yeah.
And how is to be said that it's done in a proper manner?
Yeah.
Islamic?
So if you haven't left, you die. The person died now. Now the first thing that the family should know that they need to cover this. This needs to be done within 24 hours because, as per the requirement of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the janazah needs to be done within 24 hours. If something happened, then at least it needs to be done within 2 days. It's not likable to make a delay. So the family should know that they need to cover at least minimum burial expenses with the person's saving. That should be done. Now after that, when things are a little bit calm, everything is done, then now the family member needs to write it on the piece of paper. The person passed away. This is the saving the person has left. It can be cash, it can be gold, it can be properties, anything like that. These are the people that his son or daughter or wife are left behind. And then based on that, Darul Ifta or Islamic organization will write everything down. And it's a lot of mathematics and calculation is required. And even in Darul Ifta, not one mufti looks at it, but two muftis, because it's with the numbers, right? If one number is wrong, it means the whole mas'ala is wrong. That's why two muftis, they look at the mas'ala.
But the preference is given first to the qarda.
Yes.
Then the inheritance.
Yeah. So if money finishes in qarda, then that's it.
And you're talking about the long term and short term, because nowadays if we see mortgages, they're around 30 years.
Yes.
Okay.
So that's not going to be followed.
I mean, if somebody is, the point is, I've everybody who gets anything on mortgage, usually houses, they don't have, like, if I have $1 million house, they don't have $1 million in their pocket.
Yeah.
And I don't have $1 million. I take a mortgage of $1 million or $500,000 or whatsoever, and I die the next day. Now I have nothing in my bank account because I've already put my initial deposit, whatever I had, 10% or whatsoever. I don't have nothing in my account. I'm dead now. So I mean, there's nothing left. How can I? Even the burial expenses. Yeah.
It's very difficult. That's why the person should think before doing things like that. That's why it's not liked in Islam to take long-term debts. If one is taking debt, take it in such a way that you're able to give it back as well.
The one who is already in this situation, what should he do now? He's alive.
It's a very difficult situation. 30 years is a long time. I mean, it's a very
You should fix those things, right?
yeah. Before dying, I mean, it's a very difficult situation.
And
because how would you get out, right? I mean,
yeah, I think that's the reason, because like when we usually go for janazas, first thing they ask, if anybody has got something, he has taken from someone, just let us know. Talk to that person.
There's actually a difference here too. When they say that, over here they mean by the servants of Allah, meaning if someone has physically taken from a person, then he should come forward so we can settle this. But this is organization, which is bank or conventional bank.
Oh yes.
Yeah. So that's different, kind of different. Yeah. So when taking from someone, from person, like I took it from this person, then this is when they make the janaza announcement. This is what they mean. They don't mean conventional bank or things like that. But that is still considered as a loan, right? So but that is not short-term, long-term debt. But over here is not going to be followed.
So
Otherwise, it's injustice to the inheritors.
if there's no Wasiyyah written, no Wasiyyah written at all, okay. So if I've got like, for example, how do I say, my grandfather got $100,000, just example, no Wasiyyah written at all, okay. My father passed away when my grandfather was alive, no Wasiyyah written, okay. Then my grandfather passed after that. I'm just giving an example. So when my grandfather passed away, will my father who's already passed away,
he won't get anything.
He won't get anything
Because he already passed away.
Yeah. And no Wasiyyah is written.
Yeah, he won't get anything. The mirath is not distributed in the dead person.
But
right?
What about his kids?
His kids will, of course, get it.
His kids will get the same
as the son would get or daughter will get.
Okay.
However, even if one son is alive, then the grandson doesn't get anything. You understand? So if the grandfather passed away, one of his son, obviously is not your father because your father passed away, right? But your uncle, chacha, or he's still alive, you won't be getting anything. Because to come down, the usul needs to clear first. So the usul is first the son. If none of the sons and none of the daughters are alive, biological children, then it comes down to the grandkids. But if even one of them is alive, then is not given anything.
It applies to the steps.
Steps, exactly. Steps and then grand steps. Same thing going up ahead. So if, for example, the father is still alive, the grandfather doesn't get anything. Right.
Okay. Yeah. That thing that you mentioned at the end, that for the qarda that has to be paid off, that was in Islamic countries or non-Islamic countries? I mean, if it has to pay all the
any qarda the person has taken, but it is short-term debt.
Who decides the short term? I mean,
one year. For example, I took loan from him or any organized. I took loan from him, and I said, okay, within 1 year I will give you back. So the family should know, or the person should write somewhere that I have taken loan from this person and needs to be given back within 1 year. So if he has written, if the family knows, then that $1,000 is going to be taken out from inheritance before it's being distributed.
But here, people take loans from institutions.
Yes.
In non-Islamic countries.
In non-Islamic
or even
countries.
In Islamic countries.
Yeah. So if the loan is such that it was only for 1 year, meaning it is not long-term debt, it is only short-term debt, where within 1 year, the institute decided you must pay within 1 year, right? So that is going to consider as qarda and needs to be given to the institute. But if it's like 30 years, that you are given time for 30 years, there's no such thing as qarda in this matter.
No, won't be paid out of inheritance?
No. Then the family has to decide something.
But again, the institutions, maybe Darul Iftar decided that you don't have to pay any penny out of this. But then institutions are after, because next of kin has been written while you're making
then
the
in
loan
this
agreement.
matter, the family has to decide.
Oh, it's on to him.
The family has to decide. If they fully agree, okay, those families that are being inherited,
right?
Like
no, whatever they inherited.
If they decided collectively that, okay, we don't want this, rather we want to pay debt for our father, whatever, our husband, then the family has decided, and that is okay. So if mutual understanding is there, then that is okay.
But as per Usul or whatever Darul Iftar decides,
Islamically,
they won't gonna pay out of that.
No. Right. That is why, as a Muslims, we should not take long-term debts.
That was very interesting fact. Is that a recommended way? I have seen so many times that the announcement of qarda in back home in Pakistan, that is there anyone, this person owes money, please come forward and I'll pay out in janaza. So I was just thinking that I've never seen anybody step forward. That I was thinking that what if he step forward, everybody gonna think that, look. So or is this the recommended way?
That guy is not even in janaza. He's not
maybe, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So in this way, there's two things. If a person is in janaza and he knows that this person who died has to owe me money. So in that matter, before janaza, the person should forgive that person, but at the same time, the person should say that for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I'm not coming forward because it could be a little bit, shame that I want money or things like that. But when the things get a little bit settled down and the family is calm, then I will go and ask. So this way is okay, and the person is not going to consider as a sinner.
All right.
Yeah.
And what about like if somebody's not even in the janaza, and the person who died owes lots of money to that person, then
Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim.
I think that's the same case as the institutions loan as well, right? They're not even in janaza.
Yeah, Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim and this one.
and for the inheritance, like there's no wasiyyah right now, like, because this is a very common thing that there's no wasiyyah written usually. So there's no wasiyyah, then still do we still apply this 1/3 rule?
No, if there's no wasiyyah, then there is no wasiyyah. Then it will be like this: first step, second step, and then third step. If there's no wasiyyah written, then it's not written. So there's two types of wasiyyah because we're living in non-Islamic country. One wasiyyah, which is Islamically, if you want to give someone who's very close to you, you write wasiyyah, but it cannot be over 1/3. Now, second type of wasiyyah, which people are confused, but it is common among the people. They say that when I leave this world after my passing away, things should be done like this and like this and like this and like this. This should be a person. So this type of wasiyyah is wasiyyah. It's will, but it's not. You cannot say that it's like Islamically, because if the person has said this, that when I pass away, this should be done like this, like this, like this. If it's not in Islamic terms, then it should not be followed.
Yeah, because I mean, one way or the other in wasiyyah, the legal heirs are not even included. The sons and daughters, they are not even in wasiyyah.
Yeah.
Wasiyyah is just for non-heirs.
Yeah.
So now, I mean, to be on practical side, so here fiance is the Islamic body. So this means we can contact fiance, and we must have our own will.
Yeah. So fiance should, I mean, in Canada, almost every Islamic organization, they have a template of will.
Right.
So you get that template, you make that will, it'll be in their documentation, it'll be in your document.
Oh, right. We have to submit it back.
Yes.
Right.
So they have the document and you have your document. So just in case, a'udhu billah, if something happens and the government asking for some money, which is non-Islamic way, then the fiance can contact them that we are Muslims, we have to follow Islamic ruling, and things can work out. It could be any situation, the government is just taking money without the family even knowing.
Because usually in New Zealand, should be same in Canada. If I've got, like, for example, $10,000 or XYZ in my bank account, I die today, the bank will not give that money to anyone until and unless I have written some will, some form of will. May it be Islamic or may it be whatsoever, even though I say, like, give all my money to XYZ.
Yeah.
So if I die, so they won't, and I have not written a will. Now, can I write in my will, simple, to keep it very, very simple, if I die, after my death, distribute my money according to the Sharia among my heirs?
When you write according to Sharia, it already counts as
only heirs.
In heirs, yeah.
That's
why it's very important. That's why I'm saying again and again, in a non-Islamic country, you should have your will like this and signed by, for example, fiance or Islamic body part. Yeah.
Is there like timeline within which everything should be sorted, recommended timeline? Like, for example, sometimes there is a house or something and people are living there, and like that's mainly the question. Like, people are living there and like distribution, like selling the house and then distributing is probably not so feasible.
No, there is no timeline like this. No such thing.
So after death, like the distribution can be done whenever.
Exactly. Yeah.
Any idea, in hadith or anything, like how was Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam's wasiyyah written? What was in there?
Wasiyyah of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he had nothing.
He had nothing, yeah.
So there was nothing to be given. He had nothing. There was no
But
He was-
there's a hadith that whenever you do dealing, even if you give
You-
$1 to someone, write it
write
down.
it down. It's
preferable.
recommended, preferred.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially with loan.
Yeah.
The whole ayah of the Quran, the longest verse of the Quran is about loan. That when you take loan from someone, you write it down. You should have 2 witnesses. Everything should be documented. So yeah, it's highly recommended to do that way.
I wish before you leave Canada, all of us. I don't know if you guys have the document.
No,
but
I'm not.
all
I
of
was
us
thinking same,
we should have that.
I'll get
Like
it
for
done.
example,
Practically, because you always talk.
because in non-Islamic country, for example, a Muslim person who wasn't practicing but he's still Muslim, he said that okay, if I die, my organs can be given to the donation, right? So Fayaz has that authority to stop the government from donating his organs because his will is wrong, is not against the Sharia. The Fayaz making sure that his Muslim brother passes away and leaves this world based on Islamic way, right? So over here, Fayaz has that authority to stop the government. That look, he's a Muslim, even though he did not, his will was against thing, but we want to make sure he dies as a Muslim.
And what about the will that you write to the bank? Like, for example, if you take the mortgage, and will that will be legal? Will be legal, but is it like allowed? Because then fiance would say that it was a Muslim, so whatever he has written in the will, that's not it's against Islam, right?
So first and foremost, will has to be made if the thing is not haram. So if the thing is already haram, which is mortgage riba, so there's no such thing as will. Will is invalid.
But it is legal from the bank's point of view, so they will come after. I mean, they will do whatever is written
Yeah,
in the will.
they will try their best, but they will take over. Now over here, the family has to do something. It's a very complicated masala with the mortgage. Very complicated. The family has to do something. Yeah.
Whoever is, all my friends or whoever has taken mortgage, they're actually thinking about like that we are securing the future of our kids or something like that. That they're gonna have the house, when we die or something like that.
That's long term debt. It doesn't consider us. Inshallah. So we'll talk more.
We
Inshallah.
can go
tomorrow,
even 2 more hours.
Doing something out of it, because I believe that I knew myself that always you listen to something good, not something good, but actually doing something good. I mean, that always gets delayed. So that's all of it. At least before Mufti Sahib.
Very little time left.
May Allah give us understanding. Subhanallah walhamdulillah wa la ilaha illallah wallahu akbar. Alhamdulillah bil alameen.